Mark Ogden thought he'd make more friends, particularly in the Merseyside community, by naming the top 11 team that has never won the Premier League. Of course, very much the captain of that side, Steven Gerrard, as we welcome in Stephen Nicol to the show. Craig Burley still with us. 6 years it is, boys, to the day since that Steven Gerrard slip against Chelsea cost them the title. Stevie, your memories of it?
Why does everybody say that cost them the title? Listen, that's
because it did. Because it cost them the title because they needed 7 points from their last 3 matches. They needed. Wait, listen to me.
No,
right. Let me just give you. Let me give you the facts. Give me the facts.
They lost the game.
Let me give you the facts. They needed 7 points from their last 3 matches. Manchester City needed to win their remaining 3 matches. If they lost against Chelsea, the collapse against Crystal Palace doesn't matter.
Oh, if. They had, if. Absolute nonsense. Listen, the point is it's Steven Gerrard that slipped. You know, you can argue all day whether that cost him the title. I would say, no, it didn't. But the fact is, it was Gerrard that slipped. The fact is, Gerrard was Liverpool at the time, and Liverpool hadn't won the Premier League ever. And that's why it sticks in everybody's memory. And quite frankly, it's sad. You know, a guy that had... Listen, this guy's talked about as arguably the best player Liverpool's ever had. I personally don't believe that, but a lot of people do. That's how good this guy is. And unfortunately, most football supporters outside of Liverpool and outside of the football business think that when you mention the name Steven Gerrard, that's what comes up. That slip when Demba Ba ended up putting Chelsea ahead. I think it's really sad.
Craig?
Well, I think if you remember Gerrard as a player, if you're a Liverpool fan or not, on something that he had no control over really, because none of us ever want to slip when we're in the act of trying to do something important on a football field, then I think that tells you more about the individuals. It doesn't determine how people look at him, in my opinion. I mean, what Stevie said, he was at one point the most sought-after box-to-box, all-encompassing midfielder of his generation at one point. Now, you might argue Frank Lampard was up there at the same time or was scoring more goals, but Steven Gerrard had a bit of everything to his game. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's something that people do bring up, but I don't really think when you think about Steven Gerrard as a player, that's the first thing that pops up in your head. And I think the first thing that pops up is great goals, great passes, and the service that he gave to that football club. Let's not forget, he could have been at Real Madrid or, half a dozen of these other, gigantic juggernauts of European football. Whenever he wanted, he chose not to go there to try and get that dream over the line. Yes, the Premier League, he couldn't quite make it happen. But, as an old boss of mine said once, the man that never made a mistake, Daniel, never made anything.
Wow. What? So philosophical in your old age, Craig. How much does this affect his legacy? We were talking, obviously, Stevie, about top 5 inductees into Hall of Fames and things like that. It is a black mark against him that he never won the Premier League.
Well, not from anybody who's involved in the industry. Football's an industry. So to make it simple, anybody who has either been reporting on football, played football, coached football, been involved in football, he will be up there, and if and when he's chosen, nobody will have a problem with it. To me, this legacy whole thing is only to do with outside the industry. Supporters, or just football supporters in general, that's what they go to. But the people who are picking this, and as I said, the people in the industry, they absolutely will not go straight to, oh, he slipped and Demba Ba scored. They'll go to, this guy carried one of the biggest clubs in world football on his shoulders for a decade, carried them to a Champions League, carried them to a UEFA Cup, an FA Cup, a League Cup. And by the way, if that guy hadn't played in any of these games, they wouldn't have got a sniff of winning any of them. I mean, so, as I said, your general football fan who's not affiliated with Liverpool will straight away go to the Demba Ba goal. But insiders, absolutely no way will they look at that.
Let's put it another way, Dan. If we're talking about priorities here, and I'm not saying this is right, but players make decisions for whatever reason. His priority was to win the Premier League with Liverpool. That was, whether we agree or not, doesn't matter. But that was his priority. If his priority was solely to win the Premier League, he'd have left and gone to Chelsea. When Chelsea were really pushing the boat out to try and get him, of course he could have gone and won La Liga or Serie A or wherever, with some other European club. But if he wanted to win the Premier League, he could have gone to Chelsea because they were big on trying to get him away from Liverpool. He didn't want to go. He didn't want to go because he wanted to try and get it over the line at Liverpool. So that was his priority. His priority wasn't just winning the Premier League, because he could have gone somewhere else and done that. His priority was to win it with Liverpool Football Club. And unfortunately for him, didn't happen.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.